Greetings and blessings, blessings and greetings, blessings. So don't go on alive because we want to stay alive. And Tov Chaim, Tov Chesed, Tov Rachamim. Today we're going to do a truncated version of the Soul class, which S is an acronym for 7O, original, oldest, universal laws, which is limited to 7 Noahide commandments. And I have here with me, instead of the normal crew, which is Joseph Israel, universal musician, especially in the genre of reggae, Dennis Ryan, who I have with me today. In a minute we'll check in with him. And Mordechai Santag, who is a advocate and consultant on raw foods and their benefits for the human body. And also Ron Williams, a Noahide scholar, and also a resident Levite musician here in Keswick Heights, Perplexed living. But we have some technical difficulties. We won't be doing the show on Blog Talk Radio today, but I have with me live, I have Dennis Ryan. Dennis, good morning.
Good morning to you. May God bless us and save us.
Amen. And He's really truly our source of salvation. Dennis, last week we had some discussion about, we might as well bring this into the YouTube world, the idea of healing America via the vehicle of speech. And in previous shows we talked about the idea how when people speak nicely into even something as simple as a glass of water, the crystal formation is much more fluid, it's much more pleasant, as opposed to when people speak in an unpleasant manner into to glass of water, how the crystal formation is much more in disarray, it's much more chaotic. And Dennis, I'd like you to chime in on this now. I mean, if you want to bring a teaching from Rambam, Dennis, if anyone didn't know, is an advocate and a student and a disperser of the knowledge of a seminal work by Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, otherwise known as Maimonides, a Rambam, who wrote a seminal work over, I think, 900 years ago, called The Guide to the Perplexed. So Dennis, it reads like this. This is actually what's known as a Braisa from the Oral Torah, the Talmudic teachings. It's been taught the following. Rabbi Nathan says, where the Kohen was grinding the incense, because they used to burn incense in the temple, a person would be observing it, saying, and he would say the following words, grind it thin, because the rhythmic sound is good for the compounding of the spices. So here's another example, Dennis, how proper speech actually contributed to the quality of the grinding of incense. So Dennis, with your knowledge of God the Perplexed, how is it that when we speak properly and pleasantly with other human beings, we can bring out a much finer product on the receiving end of our speech?
Well, God created us humans, and the way we communicate is basically through our speech. So if we're using speech that communicates to other humans, we have a basis of commonality. That commonality is normally on a welcomed type of basis. So we have a way of dispensing with our fears, our paranoia, by having simple and direct speech. That way, nobody's twisting the words, nobody's coming out with a prefixed motive or something they're trying to convince other people with. So if you're welcome, open with other humans, they will respond in kind. So the Rambam has always taught that you must speak positively, you must think positively, and therefore you expect positive results. 9 times out of 10, and that's my estimation, it works. But we haven't been practicing it for a long time. We've basically been picking up differences upon differences. For all humans, what is the real problem?
Right. But Dennis, I want to give another example of speech, but now it's more of a divine heavenly type of speech. And this goes back to chapters 19 by the sweet sin of Israel, King David, who writes the following. I'd like you to comment on it. For the conductor, a psalm by David, this is chapter 9, verse 1, chapter 19, verse 2, I should say, not 9, but chapter 19. The heavens recount the glory of the Almighty, the sky proclaims His handiwork. Verse 3 says, day to day streams forth, night to night expresses knowledge. And verse 4, here is the paradox. There is no utterance, there are no words, their voice is inaudible. be it. Verse 5 takes us to, their ark extends throughout the world, their message to the end of the earth. He set them in the heavens, a tent for the sun, which is like a gleam coming forth from his bridal canopy, like a strong man rejoicing to run the course. Its rising is at the end of the heavens, and its orbit encompasses the other ends. Nothing is hidden from its heat. Now I'll leave here with the next verse, even though we're not reading the whole chapter. The Torah of the Most High Lord is perfect, meaning the divine instruction, restoring the soul. The testimony of the Most High is trustworthy, making wise the simpleton. So Dennis, my question to you is this. How do we connect the idea of a speech which is not hearable by the human ear, yet it's expressing knowledge? And how do we connect that to understanding divine instruction from the Most High, which was transmitted to us through the prophets of old, through the faculty of speech? I'm throwing a lot at you, but I know you can handle it.
Thank you, Don. Thank you. The presence of the Almighty is ever present, day and night. It's with us at all times. We communicate with Him not in speech, but on a mental basis. Long before you get the words out of your mouth, you must form them in your head. And our head or our mind controls what we say. So therefore, if we are in the same community with God, then our mind should be at rest, and the words that come out of our mouth should be somewhat God-driven. We don't invent these words. These words come from nature, what we were designed as humans to do. So therefore, by thinking of God, which is the teaching of Rambam, the more people who think of God, and the more time we spend on God, the better off our speech will be, our behavior, and our interaction with other humans. So we must be mindful that we may be on earth, but we're always in the presence of God. If you forget that, then you only can hope that God will forgive you.
And I think that at any one moment He is ready to forgive, because all of us come short of the ultimate manifestation of a human being. But I don't think the Most High was looking in His plan for creation to make every one of us perfect from the start, but rather just as a child who comes out of the mother's womb basically is involved in the process of soiling his or her diapers and suckling from the mother or whatever food they can eventually graduate through, and is expected to, guess what, fall down when they learn to crawl and walk and get up. I get a little cut or bruise on the knee. I don't wish it upon anyone, of course. And then learn from the process. How can they become wiser so they fall less and stumble less and skirt their, so to speak, spiritual knees even more? Your take on that, Dennis?
Well, that's the normal cycle of being born, growing up, and dying. And we expect in the normal cycle that people will learn, that people will appreciate, and recognize that there is a God, and feel the love that God has for us, and we should in return have for Him. So we expect that learning process as we get older to include a little wisdom. Unfortunately, not everybody has a little wisdom. Therefore, we must go about our business and be kind and nice to everybody. But we're mindful of the fact of our beginnings and what pursued in the process of becoming an adult. We are here. God bless us.
Amen. Now, I just want to bring back to what you said before. Not everyone is getting the wisdom, or as they should have sought out as a life endeavor to get that wisdom. Yet we see again, going back to chapter 19, verse 9, where King David says that actually chapter 19 verse 8, making wise the simpleton, meaning the only requirement that we have as human beings is not that we be PhD scholars, not that we be Harvard theologic ivory tower scholars, but rather we realize that we are merely simple creatures, blessed paradoxically with one of the greatest gifts mankind has ever been given, probably the greatest gift, that divine image, Tselem Elokim, which you can see in Genesis 1:27. It's repeated again in the prohibition against premeditated murder in chapter 9, verse 6 in Genesis. But as long as we realize, on the one hand, we have a divine image, and therefore we should emulate our Creator as we can only as human beings, not as the Creator Himself. And also at the same time too, we should take a simple day-to-day, in the moment, or to existential approach to hopefully grasp onto the future wisdoms which are patiently awaiting us and ultimately manifested with the coming of the righteous Messiah, anointed one, to lead all nations, not just the Israelites. So Dennis, we're about to run out of time. I'd like to give you about a 1.5 minute amount of time to respond to that, and then we'll make our closing statement.
All right. Well, what happens is in the works of and the wisdom of Moses of Cordoba, of Rehoboam, and Jesus of Nazareth is the one thing that these people had in common, and they preach, not directly but indirectly, is humility. We must be aware of the humility factor for humans. We are in the presence of the Lord. He created us in His image. And some of us are smart, some of us have wisdom. But we all are leveled on the human field because we are expected to have some love of God. But to do that, you must have some humility. Therefore, we must put our egos and other things that we have in our mind in our back pockets for a little while, because if you don't show humility, you are not going to see the light of God, because we cannot let our own minds get in the way.
Beautiful. Dennis, I'd like to thank again my co-host on Blog Talk Radio, which does the sales you can access by going to www.blogtalkradio.com, and there you just type in my name in the search engine, Dan, D-O-N-Z-U-S-Y-A, and Goodman, G-O-O-D-M-A-N, where you can drink from more of which I consider to be rich, and hopefully will be manifest as eternal discussions with a good friend here and advocate for the teachings of Rabbi Moshe Ben Maimon, Maimonides Rambam, and God the Perplexed. So I want to, guys, have a beautiful day. Thank you for coming on for these brief minutes. Hopefully next week we'll do the 90-minute show on the radio, of course. So Dan Ritzkin signing off on behalf of Dennis Ryan, Ahav Echad, one love, Goyal Echad, one destiny, Ukolana for all of us. Dar Chinam, Dar Chusham, in a peaceful, pleasant way, the open, in an eternal way, the Birchas Hashem is spread with the blessings of the Most High. Take care, Dennis, and take care, everyone else.